Hello and welcome to another live edition of the Nittany Dispatch. I am John Sauber, Penn State beat writer at the Center Daily Times. She is Audrey Snyder, doing the same at InsideTheLines.substack.com. Audrey, we are a little late this week, although it is our second episode after the emergency episode Monday. But it is things are developing, I will say, at this point.
You know, you said late, and I looked at the clock, and I was like, John, it's 6 o'clock. This is the only time we've probably ever started on time. But yeah, we're a different day.
It's a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. Speaking of which, I want to mention this too. Our plan as of now is to go live Monday evening instead of Tuesday next week. Travel plans for the holidays and everything.
Busiest travel day of the year is on Wednesday, yes. And I always seem to end up on the road that day. Always.
Yes, and Penn State men's basketball is a game Tuesday night, so I will be at that.
I will not be at that.
Live. Yeah, shocker. We will be live Monday evening, probably around 6 or 7, if I had to guess, for those who are curious. But yes, we will start today with what everybody wants to talk about, and that is Penn State's coaching search. I will let you have the floor wherever you want to start. Audrey, we can go through. I think I would say there are 4 candidates I think that I'm most focused on, but I will let you have the floor. And if there's anyone you want to discuss in particular, we can go in that direction.
So we'll get
also
into
real quick. Sorry,
if
anyone is in the live chat, feel free to leave questions there, ask about candidates, what have you.
If you're listening after the fact, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe.
Yes, leave those 5-star rating reviews on Apple Podcasts. Hit the thumbs up on the subscribe button down below on YouTube if you're watching. I'll get out in front of this one. It's still not going to be Fran Brown. Anyways, Audrey, what do you want to
start? Or Brian Dable.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but you and I drove down to Blacksburg, Virginia. And as I was driving down, John, 4 hours into the trip, you arrive at Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is home of James Madison. And there's a Buc-ee's right there that is apparently a newly opened right off the exit. I stopped there twice in 24 hours. That tells you how great my week's going. It's a great time. First ever experience at a Buc-ee's, pretty much like a Walmart / kind of gas station wannabe. Wild times, great time.
Yes.
But as I'm driving through there and having this transformative experience at Buc-ee's, I kept coming back to the idea of Mr. Bob Chesney and JMU and the fact that the James Franklin domino has fallen, and we'll get into it later. We've talked about it a lot. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, James Franklin is now the head coach at Virginia Tech. So that's, again, as this search falls into place for Penn State and everybody else, you still have to keep an eye on who's going where elsewhere, right? Whether that's Drinkwitz, whether that's James Franklin, like as stuff falls into place. So John, let me start here. What do you like about JMU's head coach? And could you see a scenario where it plays out that he could end up here again? Dominoes fall at different times.
Yeah. So Chesney was someone that I brought up early in the process that I really liked, that I thought Penn State should give a look to, but said at the time that he was someone that I thought they would have to, like, he needed to get another job and then go up to a school like Penn State. I no longer believe that's the case. I think his candidacy is legitimate. Penn State spoke to him a few days ago. I would anticipate that they either are or have spoken to him towards the end of this week, right? Like around, I don't know, today. I think that the conversations with Chesney are real. I think what's appealing is the track record, right? Like he's won everywhere he's been. JMU has probably a long shot to make the playoff, but should finish as a 1-loss team this year. I think that's appealing. People will point to Curt Cignetti. I think the profiles are different. He's much younger than Cignetti was when he took the Indiana job, and even when he was at JMU. But I think he is the CEO type of head coach, right? He is the motivator. Honestly, he's like kind of similar to James Franklin. I think the benefit would be potentially added alignment with the athletic director and the athletics.
You're saying the A word again, John.
Yeah,
you're dropping the A word.
Or in how, like, you need to succeed in modern college football, right? The way you need to allocate resources, the way you need to allocate with NIL and things like that. I think Chesney is really appealing from that standpoint. If I were to do a pecking order, I would probably have him 4th or 5th. It depends on where you view Eli Drinkwitz. You mentioned Drinkwitz's name. He's candidate at Florida. I would anticipate he's going to be a candidate at Auburn as well, potentially at LSU. I think his preference is to stay in the South. And I think that is the expectation right now. It's not to say Penn State wouldn't want to hire him. I believe that he would rather be in the South, and that is where this is ultimately going to finish for him. I could be wrong. That can change. Especially if he doesn't get any of those offers and he ultimately decides to be at Penn State. But I also think there's, with all of these guys, do they have a wandering eye for somewhere else if you hire them? And if you're hiring a guy who wants to be in the South, are you just going to be doing this search again in 3 years if, I don't know, Florida comes open, or if,
for our sake, let's not do this again in 2 or 3 years, just solely from our rooting interest. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad you brought up Auburn, because that's another part of this too. When I mentioned like the other jobs and other pieces falling into place, because that was a job that James Franklin had some interest in, and that was one that you and I both said for a while we thought that could make sense, and it did not make sense.
I don't think I think the way you phrase it is important. Yes, I was going to say, I think the way you phrase it's important. I think James Franklin did have interest in Auburn.
Yeah, it was not mutual. Yes. And so I think when you start to look at these other jobs, you say, okay, James is off the table as one big domino, but where are the other jobs? Like who goes next, and what does Lane Kiffin do? And when do we kind of get this timeline? Because one of the things that I keep getting asked, and I'm sure you are too, is people are saying, well, when's Penn State going to hire a head coach, and what's the timeline looking like? And it's like, hold tight. We're recording this on Thursday, November 20th. What Rutgers is next week. That is what, the 29th?
29th, yeah. 9 days away still.
Yeah. So again, we could be looking at the 30th. We could be looking at December 1st. We could be looking at mid-December. I mean, it is, and I get it, as we're out here preaching patience, and this search has been going on since technically the afternoon of October 12th. So I think we have to kind of navigate this a little bit more. But you said earlier about 4 candidates, and John, what's that pecking order?
Yeah, so we mentioned one with Chesney, who I would have 4th or 5th. I actually wouldn't. So the reason I said 4 is I would not have Drinkwitz in that group because I believe he will stay South. That being said, I do think he would be in Penn State's, like, what they like about him, and I think he would be, if I didn't think he was going South, I think he'd be in that group. That being said, he's not in those 4. I have Chesney at 4th. We can go in the opposite order. I would have another guy that I think is going to be, how do I put this? Another guy who is going to be an important candidate in this as number 3, and that's Brent Key. I think Key. Georgia Tech fans, please close your ears. I've gotten enough emails from the lot of you at this point that he's not going to leave. And I know he said, cut me open, see what color I bleed. I am under the impression that Key has a lot of interest in Penn State. This is a scenario where if they miss on their top 2, where one, I would be stunned if they don't miss on at this point. That's Marcus Freeman, who I still think is the restraining order hasn't been filed. So sure. You know what I mean? They're
we're just going to call this the Kalen DeBoer +3 list, right? I think that's the list.
Well, the Kalen DeBoer +2 and then 2 additional.
Kalen DeBoer +2, or Kalen DeBoer plus Marcus Freeman +2 plus another step
plus
down
category. Potentially, but I think Key is among the big swing, or after the big swing, sorry, I should say, beyond DeBoer and Freeman. I think it is abundantly clear that Key is the guy in that group. And I think he has interest. He could sign an extension with Georgia Tech. I'm not ruling that out, but I also think if you look at some of these places in the South, if they could potentially have interest in Key too. I think, especially if dominoes fall, I think that could be the case. Just to touch on Freeman real quick, because I said I have him at 2. I have no reason to believe he's going to leave Notre Dame for Penn State. I only think he would leave Notre Dame for Ohio State as a college job or an NFL job. Right. I think those are the scenarios. Let me say it one more time. I do not think Marcus Freeman is going to Penn State, but they are trying to get him. It just is. I don't expect it to happen. I think it's almost, the door is almost closed, but again, until you fully slam it shut, it has to remain slightly open. But
you said the door or the DeBoer is almost.
Yeah, okay. Closed. All right. Let me finish on Key quick before we get into the DeBoer, because I know that's what everyone wants to talk about. I think he is the kind of coach that Penn State is looking for. Again, that type of leader, motivator, CEO. I think he's proven that he can succeed in the transfer portal era. Georgia Tech is a program that was not good before he got there. It was a lot of Paul Johnson running the triple O, and then couple rough years, and now you hire Brent Key as the interim head coach, and he takes over, and he has a lot of success. And I know a lot of people give credit to Buster Faulkner for that, their offensive coordinator, which I think is probably fair. He's at Southern Miss before, he was at Georgia before. I wouldn't be surprised if he went with Key if Key were to leave, or if Faulkner were to get his own head coaching job somewhere. But I think Key is a legitimate candidate. I think Key has legitimate interest, and I think Penn State has legitimate interest in Brent Key. Now, it's just a matter of if those things end up lining up, because number one on the list, I think for me, for you, for everyone, is still Kalen DeBoer.
I feel like we've been having this conversation for more than a month.
Well, it's because we have.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this would be for Penn State. This is the, I'll say dream scenario where Bama, you want them to lose. Like, I think that's the Penn State fan rooting guide interest here. And again, Eastern Illinois this weekend.
It's an FCS school. It doesn't matter.
And then you've got obviously Auburn after that. So that's kind of the one you're looking at. Yeah, I think, and again, it feels like we're probably a broken record here and repeating ourselves, but we saw it play out with James Franklin here, and it was oh my God, they can't get rid of him. It's never going to happen. That would be crazy. College football is a crazy sport, John. Unless you're new here, crazy things happen in this sport all the time. And fan bases are rabid, and it is as passionate as it gets. It's like that here. It is certainly like that in Tuscaloosa. And if it gets to a level where it is really uncomfortable for Kalen DeBoer, just like it got with James Franklin here, then I think you see that opportunity open. And again, if they lose out, or not even lose out, if they lose one of the next two, rather, they're not losing out.
They're not losing.
If they're losing out, we've got other issues there.
Yeah.
If they lose, then we're looking at a scenario where you're saying, all right, Penn State, this is, I think, how you make your move. But again, this is, I think we're talking about the same candidate pools here. And it's just a matter of how do you get this to line up, and who is comfortable coming here, and when are they comfortable coming here? And again, when you're dealing with playoff contending teams, that is certainly different.
Yeah. And I think the thing with DeBoer too is there is a world where they miss the playoff despite winning out. Because let's say the Big 12 title game, Texas Tech, BYU wins that game, gets the auto bid. Texas Tech still gets in as a top, 8 team, still probably would be ahead of Alabama. Better be ahead of Alabama.
The Fighting Elkos,
No, sorry, Texas Tech, not A&M. Not the Fighting Elkos, the Fighting McGuire. But if you see that happen, if you see BYU beat Texas Tech, and BYU gets an auto bid, Bama could be the first team out at that point, because you would have an ACC school in all likelihood get in as an auto bid. You would have a Group of 5 school get in as an auto bid, Group of 6, whatever it is. And you would have BYU get in as an auto bid, presumably from below Alabama, and Texas Tech stays in. You've got me in my head now about the Texas Tech, Texas A&M thing.
Rent-free, John. I'm rent-free right now in your head.
Regrettably. But yeah, I think that is the scenario that Bama could still miss the playoff. And I've seen people say that people at Bama love DeBoer. I'm not doubting that, but these situations can get untenable quickly if the fan base turns and makes life miserable for their family. If they make, you know what I mean? Those sorts of things, we saw it with Ryan Day last year, right? His kids and his wife were dealing with all of this stuff. It wasn't necessarily him. And, that it was tense in Columbus. And again, don't do those kinds of things. Please leave family members out of it. I can't believe I have to say that, but that does happen. And so I think it could become untenable in a situation where DeBoer looks around and is like, I'd rather not deal with this, and wants to leave. So I think that's the scenario, them missing the playoff, them, potentially losing to Auburn, are the scenarios where Penn State could sneak in and get the deal done. And for what it's worth, we've still got some time to go on this. There's no deal done right now. It's everybody take a deep breath. Relax. Yes. This is not done yet. Things could change drastically in 9 days, right? Someone could come out of nowhere. The ever lovely mystery
someone that we're not talking about, right?
Yes, could pop up out of nowhere. It's just things can change drastically.
I wanted to touch on this because I just saw it. Somebody mentioned it in the chat. I think we should have the conversation. people are asking, and they saw the emotional response from Terry Smith this week, and they saw the, hey, guys love him, they want to play for him. That's been really apparent, right? You talk to these guys who are around this team quite a bit. I'm trying to land the plane on this one. Terry Smith has been a wonderful candidate here for an interim head coach, the perfect guy for the job. I do not see a scenario where he is Penn State's next head coach. I don't see it. I think we're looking at people that are more proven, people that have the head coaching experience. And again, like, this is not a knock on Terry and what he's done here. And I know the players love him. We were talking to Jordan Lucas today, which brought a really great perspective to it, the interim cornerbacks coach. And Jordan played for Terry at Penn State and now, is serving as his interim coach. And he said, Terry, he goes, hey, I have a dad and Terry's a second father figure to me. And Jordan started crying and said, like, this is a guy who should be in the mix. I want to put that out there because Terry even told us this week, he was asked if he interviewed and he said, like, pretty much no, that his interview is
not
what
pretty
they're
much
doing
no
on the field.
He said no.
Yeah.
And I don't expect him to be a real candidate for this job. I know people saw the video and they like the passion, the emotion. Like, look, I think there's just as good of a chance that Terry's coaching at Virginia Tech next year as he is an assistant at Penn State. Like, and that's not like out of spite because he wouldn't get the job. It's because, like, it might just be what's best for him. Everyone knows how much Terry loves Penn State. Terry is also extremely close with James Franklin. As James told you and I in Blacksburg yesterday, Terry was at his house the other night. Like, they are so very close. James is the reason Terry is back at Penn State. He is the one who hired him to be on his staff. Like, this is that. Yes, there's a lot of loyalty to Penn State, but there's also a lot of loyalty to James Franklin. So I think there's just I think it's a coin flip whether Terry Smith is an assistant at Penn State next year or Virginia Tech. I wouldn't be surprised by either at this point. I think it is highly unlikely that Terry Smith is the next head coach at Penn State. And I understand the emotional aspect. People see that video and react the way they do. But I get it. Like, you want the guy to love your program forever. I think you should probably just want to hire the best coach. And I don't know that right now Terry Smith is who that is.
Yeah. And I think, again, like, we can look a little more like granular at this. Like, there have been coaching decisions in games that were like, do they want to be aggressive? Do they not? Like, what do they want to do? And Terry even said, like, hey, it took me a few weeks to be like, hey, we got to throw the ball down the field. And I get it. In some ways, you're just inheriting this program. Again, there is so much that goes into a job like this of being the CEO of all these other things that come. And Terry's gotten a crash course on this in the past 5 weeks, right? So yeah, I'd be very surprised. But to your point about Virginia Tech, because I'm really pivoting us for the Virginia Tech.
Oh wait, hold on. There's still, we got plenty of questions in the chat here for the coaching search.
Oh, okay, never mind. I never look at the chat. As John will tell you,
this is my responsibility that I bear. But the first thing I see here, someone asked, is Matt Campbell a candidate? I don't expect him to be. There was some murmurs about him early because he's seemingly involved in every coaching search, but nothing ever really gained traction there. I don't know if you have anything to add there. But
no, despite my efforts of trying to buy that Matt Campbell, the Iowa State beer when I was at Iowa, great logo. Yeah,
exactly.
Hot name out of the gate, but hasn't really been anything since.
I don't even know if I would say hot name out of the gate. I would say name out of the gate.
Well, a hot name among fans. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said Kevin is holding everything up. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I think that is what's happening right now, and I think Penn State should be paying attention to where he ends up.
And I bet you he's loving that attention.
I'm certain that he is. He is creating some of it. Like, that is part of it. But yeah, I think that is a big thing there. I think that is mostly everything, other than the guy in the chat who says, I like to pretend I know anything about football. It's very nice of you. I hope you enjoy your vacation from the chat. I'm sure that's a lot of fun for you.
You got my comment, John?
Yeah, right. I think that is it. Here it is. Which school will be the first domino to fall on the coaching carousel, Florida or LSU? I think that is a good question. I think it is whichever one Lane ends up at. I think that is kind of, or if he, backs out of one, which, if I had to guess now,
get your drink ready.
Yeah, if I had to guess right now, I would say Lane ends up either staying at Ole Miss or at LSU. I don't know that for certain. Obviously, better info here in State College than elsewhere, but I think that is where things stand.
I did just look at the chat. I rarity. But this is a good point. It says you can't fire Franklin in October. Talk about we did this because the standard is national championships, and end up going with a first-time head coach in house. I think that's a good point.
And I think like hiring someone who was on James Franklin's staff to replace James Franklin, I think makes not a lot of sense. I think that is like one of the bigger issues right now. Someone asked why Auburn would not be interested in Franklin. I think they were, and then they weren't. I think conversations happen sometimes, and you find a candidate.
Sometimes when you chat, you don't necessarily like what the other person's saying, or
it just doesn't align
don't go well.
Yeah, it just doesn't align.
The A word again.
Yeah, I know. Question here: is Brian Dable anywhere on the coaching radar? Unsurprisingly, a photo of Josh Allen is the profile picture.
Here's the radar.
Yeah, he's elsewhere. He's anywhere else.
If you're watching on YouTube, yeah.
You know, I don't think, to use the alignment word again, I think he probably doesn't have what it takes to be the head coach at Penn State right now, or at a major college program in general. I would be fairly surprised if he was in the conversation beyond anything initial, I guess I'll put it. We can pivot to, I will use this, I should say, to pivot to Virginia Tech and James Franklin. If you have more questions, keep them coming in the chat. We'll get to them as I see them. Someone asked if we think, Ethan Grunkemeyer follows James Franklin to Virginia Tech. And I think that is a good place to start with this entire discussion about the state of the roster and how it's going to be impacted by James going to Virginia Tech. So, Audrey, I will let you handle it.
Yeah. This is really, really interesting. And, all along we kept saying, okay, well, once James ends up somewhere, like we can have the roster discussion about who maybe follows him and these kinds of things. And we got into it on our Monday, was it emergency podcast when James was, I think it was Monday night, when James was announced at Virginia Tech. We got into it a little bit. Every coach, one of the first dominoes, or not, I keep using the word dominoes, one of the first pieces, one of the first things that they do when they take a new job is to connect with the quarterback, whether that is in the recruiting class, whether that is the guy in your program. We know James Franklin met with, I almost said Vanderbilt, with Virginia Tech's players Wednesday night. He wanted to kind of meet them and just start to get to know those guys. Yeah, I could see a scenario where Ethan Grunkemeyer perhaps ends up at Virginia Tech. Again, this is with us saying this without knowing who Penn State's going to hire here on November 20th. I say this because Ethan Grunkemeyer committed to Penn State for a reason, and a big reason for that was James Franklin, was Danny O'Brien. Now, granted, the offensive coordinator situation, we don't know what's going to shake out there at Virginia Tech. So is he a fit for whoever that OC is? We don't know. That's kind of the challenging thing, but I think you have to look at the relationships. And Troy Hune, a name that I brought up on Monday, and I wrote about this over on my Substack, and I said, hey, who do we think, follows James to Virginia Tech? And it's like, yeah, I could absolutely see Penn State's quarterback commit doing that, because again, why did he commit to Penn State? Sure, it's the university, it's Beaver Stadium, it's all those things, it's the Big Ten, but it's also the coach and the people you're working with on a daily basis. Most of those people, or a good amount of those people, including recruiting staffers, we've already seen some of those defections starting to happen, are going to be at Virginia Tech. So again, it in some ways, I would not be surprised if it feels like James Franklin picked up the people in the building, some of them, moved 6 hours away, dropped them off here and said, hey, this is what we do. This is what we know how to do. Here's our blueprint. Let's go attack the ACC and let's get it done.
Yeah, and he's already taken some off-field staff members, some support staff members. GM Andy Frank is going with him to Virginia Tech, and don't know that role has been reported yet. Kevin Threlkill is going as well. He was chief of staff at Penn State. I would anticipate that there will be other coaches and other support staff members that follow James. I think there are a few obvious candidates. I think more importantly, though, will be the roster. And the question about Grunkemeyer, I think it's possible that Ethan Grunkemeyer goes to Virginia Tech. I think it's possible that anyone with eligibility remaining on Penn State's roster follows James to Virginia Tech. He brought all of those players to Penn State. They all really like him. Like, we've heard that time and time again. They've been very supportive of him. Maybe a few don't, but the vast majority of the roster really likes him. And I would expect that there will be the number of players that follow James Franklin from Penn State to Virginia Tech will not be zero. right? Like I fully anticipate that being the case.
Yeah, and again, like that's not. It might come as a surprise to Penn State fans maybe to hear that, just because James was here for 12 years. So again, like you haven't had to go through this, but this is what happens to a lot of programs when your coach leaves. And we saw it with the recruiting class, and you look at the number of decommitments, and this is part of why Virginia Tech made the move when they did of getting rid of Brent Pry in September and then hiring James when they did right now. So they've got 2 weekends where they can get official visits set up for guys and get them in there, meet James and whoever it is who's going to be coaching with, whoever's perhaps going with them in the recruiting department, get those key pieces in place. Meanwhile, if you're Penn State, you've got one home game left this weekend, and it's kind of like, hey guys, we can't really show you anything on the recruiting trail because we don't know who's going to be here. So that's a tough spot to be in. Now, I did not anticipate that Penn State would have a head coach in place at this point. So like they were bracing for this. But yeah, it's certainly an advantage for James to be in place first. And Terry Smith talked about this after practice Wednesday night. Listen, these guys understand the magnitude of James Franklin being within 6 hours of this campus. And it's going to be fascinating to see how James continues to recruit the DMV and how that region works. And if that maybe cuts into Penn State a little bit, we'll see. But I think for Franklin, you know, it was weird being there Wednesday in the third row. As much as I like the joke that I'm a front row 10 minutes early setting the standard kind of gal, I am not. I'm a third row person, but I will be there early. And it was bizarre to see him in different colors after 12 years of blue and white.
It was jarring. Like it was legit. I was like taken aback when I first saw it. And I did see someone asking here what kind of reception we got from James at his press conference. We talked to James a little bit in a breakout session with him away from the press conference. He was good. He seemed happy to see us. As I put in my story, it was like a glimpse into what his life used to be, which you can read at SenatorDaily.com. You can read what Audrey wrote at InsideTheLines.substack.com.
They just play like someone that I used to know, and then you and I just pop in there. He knew I was coming. I can tell you that. And I think. And this is just something else I want to touch on. Like sometimes I'll see your people say, well, like, why did you go? We don't care about this guy anymore. It doesn't matter. I went, and I'm sure you have similar reasons. I went because I covered this guy for 12 years almost. 12 years of my life, that is. 11 plus seasons. 11 and a half. I don't know how you like your 11 and I guess almost a half.
It was much closer to
11 and a half. You cover them. Literally, I was covering this guy the day he got off the plane in State College. And you spend a lot of time and you try to decipher and figure out who he is, whether you're at recruiting camps in the summer or you see him around campus or it's these, small moments in his office on the practice field, after a game, like whatever it might be, you're trying to always put the pieces together. And I'm a firm believer that often who people are, it's more so who they are when the cameras aren't on and when we're not all looking at them and we're not talking to them 30 people at once in front of television cameras. So you go, or I went, because I had questions about what was this guy who we know is a workaholic from spending all this time around him for the last 12 years. What was he doing for the last 5 weeks? How did he handle what certainly to him, I'm sure, in some regards, probably felt like a bit of a raw deal when it's like, hey, I've done everything. I poured my heart and soul into this place. I worked around the clock. And then, this season goes south and I get fired. Like, to me, that is curiosity. That is compelling. And I've said it the day I launched my Substack. I'm always curious. And I think that's like, as a journalist, that's kind of a thing that hopefully you have. And I was like, yeah, I want to know what this guy is doing at Virginia Tech and how did he end up here? What was he doing for these last 5 weeks? I was just fascinated to know. I was curious to know. And then you get there and you see him and you're like, okay, it's different colors, but he's recycling some of the same jokes, which we all do that. I do that a lot. Like we got I had a hot dog and a beer at a tailgate at Old Dominion when he was there last week, which like people were like, didn't he say that at Luke Combs? And I'm like, yeah, he also told me that when he sat down at this summer with me and he was at East Stroudsburg for a family member's graduation. Like we all have those little jokes that we make, right? But The man can still command a room, John.
Yeah.
We both saw it. We felt it sitting there.
And we will get into that after a short break to hear some words from our sponsors. One play can change a season. One upset can silence a stadium. With every snap, the stakes get higher. No one brings you closer to the action than DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. From live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff to the final whistle. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Own every Saturday with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DISPATCH. That's code DISPATCH to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets. Bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
John, you pull up the shirt. I see the logo. I see the dog.
It's right
here
here.
it is.
It's right here. Yeah.
It's and a Roback hat.
Yeah. We're going double
and
today.
probably Roback joggers, I'm going to assume.
For once, no. We're going Roback shorts today.
Shorts? It's like 30 degrees out.
Yeah, I'm inside.
Bizarre behavior. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if John wants to wear shorts in November. You can save 20% off your first purchase from our friends over at Roback when you use code TND20. That's TND20, as in the Nittany Dispatch 20. Save 20% off of your first purchase over at roback.com.
Yeah, as you were saying, James can really command a room. I think that is obvious. I think he comes off as more authentic maybe than he used to. I think he's more comfortable in his own skin now than he used to be, for sure. But as for there are questions about why he took the job in the chat, because he couldn't get anything better. I don't know if it's he couldn't get anything better as much as it's he had an offer on the table to go right now. There was certainty. There is the pay is competitive. No, the pay is competitive. I'll be curious to see how much alignment there is and how much what the chances are of a new athletic director at Virginia Tech soon enough. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, right? I saw someone ask how many SEC teams offered him. None. They didn't, and I think that's part of this too.
And I think to your point, like Virginia Tech fans, like it's a different beast. Like you're trying to energize a program. You're trying to pour into it, juice this place back up, which is what James Franklin is so good at. Like I always said, he's a program builder, and then he's not the guy, I don't think, to get you over the top, but he's definitely the guy who can take you to a really, really good spot, especially in the ACC. And I think for him, like he told you and I, again, this was not on cameras. It was very strategic when people asked, like, did you not get a question on TV? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we did not want to get a question on TV because, again, we're there doing the work. And you get more authentic answers when there aren't cameras. And that's, like, how the setup was when we just sat down with James. And, he told us he doesn't do free time well. I asked him, what did you learn about yourself during these 5 weeks? And he's like, I don't handle free time well. And that his wife always would try to tell him that, being a football coach isn't your identity. It's what you do. And he's like, yeah, in theory, that sounds good, but you don't put as much time into it as you do and then not expect that this is some part of your identity. So he was, I think, was definitely going a little crazy sitting around. But he wasn't really sitting around either. It was like, when he met with Virginia Tech, he already had like financially the plan of like, this is what we need to do. This is what you have. I've done my research.
Well, so Virginia Tech put a plan together in September. They were going to increase their athletics budget. He had that plan. He knew what they were doing, what they're investing in, and that was important to him.
Yeah, and I think when you kind of look at like the man will look at numbers and comparisons, and here's how much this program says they have. Here's what we need, and here's why it's more. And gosh, the poor runway is always catching us stray, it seems, and it caught one because they go out of Roanoke, which I found out because the Blacksburg airport. I went there Wednesday morning when Franklin arrived just to get that scene. And it was really interesting because I'm like, and I put this on my story on my Substack, and there's way more details in there. I encourage you to go read it, check it out, because I'm not going to give it away for free on here. Although there was some person on Twitter who said to me, just hit me with like, why is it behind a paywall? Because this is my full-time job. And
Yes.
I see the background of my house. I got to keep the light. You see the lights are on? I got to pay for that somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you look at it, and I am fascinated to see what happens at Virginia Tech. And people are saying, well, why don't you just go cover them? We just want Penn State coverage. Like, this is a storyline that's happening elsewhere. It's the same reason why I went to Mississippi State years ago when Joe Moorhead was there and took a bunch of Penn State people with him. You want to see how these people operate. But sure, like, we're going to continue covering Penn State. And until they hire a coach, John, we're just we're hanging out.
Yeah, I did see someone say it'll be interesting when Virginia Tech and Boston College play. I am way more interested when Virginia Tech and Pitt play. I think that will be very funny. I think I'm going to guess there's still no love lost there.
You know, I say I will definitely be keeping an eye on Virginia Tech. Like, it's just one of those where, like, you want to see what happens. Even today I found, because now the algorithm's all messed up for me after posting Virginia Tech stuff. And then it's like, so I'm getting fed all these Virginia Tech things, and you see it and you're like, oh, James did this today. And I noticed, John, well, now that he's back, like, with a Nike institution, he can get his performance khakis back.
He never left a Nike institution. He was still...
Well, true. Yeah, he never had to make the Adidas shift that's coming this summer. But it's like he literally has this, it looks like the same sneakers that he had here, but now they're just in Virginia Tech colors. The khakis are still the khakis, and like the same, like quarter zip, but different color. Like, you know. Yeah,
it was very strange seeing him in a room. Like, legitimately strange. I think that is good for all the Virginia Tech stuff that I have. And again, go read those stories at centerdaily.com and at insidelines.substack.
I had one more thing with Terry Smith and Virginia Tech. We were talking about this earlier, and all along I was very much like, Terry's Penn State guy, makes sense, Penn State guy. And then it's like, well, he's like, I've been talking to James, and you know, you have those conversations, and part of me is like, yeah, this is James Franklin for sure. Checking in on the interim head coach. He said, you know, he still cares about the people here. He has not watched a Penn State game because it's too difficult to do, but he does care about the people here. And I think when you look at it, you say, well, okay, Terry, like, if maybe you don't want to be a head coach at this level. And if you don't, there's an opportunity potentially to still be James Franklin's kind of second in command, which is a very good spot to be at. So again, all along, I thought there really wasn't a possibility, but as the pieces start to fall into place, John, it's a strong maybe.
Yes. Two more things to address on chat. Is Jim Mora on the radar? He's been terrific at UConn. I don't believe so. I could be wrong about that. Not a name that I have heard. Also, UConn, while they've been good, also lost to Delaware. I don't think Penn State.
Could you imagine the fan reaction to that? Yeah.
No. Someone said Freeman is not going to PSU. Yeah, I know. I've said that several times. Like, I don't anticipate that being the case. My point is Penn State is still trying. All right. Penn State, Nebraska on Saturday. Penn State Senior Day. We spoke to Drew Allar today for the first time in since weeks.
October 12th. Yeah.
No, before that. It had to be before that.
Oh, yeah, because he got hurt.
October 8th. Yeah, that midweek. Yeah. There was a lot that he discussed. He talked about, like, you know, James Franklin, his relationship with him. He's excited to see him play. What stood out to you today from Drew?
Well, first off, he did not put a timeline on his recovery from his injury. He's here rehabbing, and he said the rehab's going really well, but he was asked, you know, like, will you be ready for the combine? Will you be ready for the Senior Bowl? And like, I would not anticipate that being the case, but again, like, we'll see. I think for him, you look at it and you say, like, okay, will he be in a position to be able to go and throw for teams before the draft? And Drew said, without getting into the specifics of the injury, he said, like, listen, my injury is not as bad as some of the ones that happen to people. Like, he'll be okay. He'll make a full recovery.
My understanding of that is there was not any additional damage, right? Or not any additional major damage beyond the actual injury itself.
And so he had surgery a few weeks ago, which that was the week, I believe, that Penn State was playing at Iowa. He had surgery that week. But the thing that, and honestly, too, this one kind of snuck up on me in a little bit, where you're like, man, it's been 4 years that Drew Allar's been here, or 4 seasons. Like, that one to me just felt really quick. And like, sure, I knew he was a senior and I knew it was senior day or senior night, and all of that. But it's like, man, I asked him about what he thinks, kind of went wrong this season. And I've seen that's kind of been some headlines. And, he was really, I thought, forward and said, hey, it's a couple more plays here and there, which, again, I'll say, John, it would be nice if we heard more from the people making these decisions with regards to calling the plays, and rather than, the quarterbacks and this and that, and your highly compensated coordinators would be nice. But to Drew's credit, he came out and he talked with us, which again, didn't have to do that, but he did, which was nice on his behalf. But yeah, he's been here. He's going to meetings with the quarterbacks. He said he's watched a lot of NFL film so far, trying to kind of get a little bit of a jump start on that, which, I think this is the other part. And we heard about it in the summer from James Franklin about the benefits of when you're a senior and you have, more time on your hands because you have that lighter academic load. Well, Drew Allar is kind of like, well, yeah, you've got this lighter academic load and I can't play football right now because my ankle's broken.
Yep.
So he's like, yeah, I have had a lot of time to think and reflect. And that hasn't been easy because this was supposed to be the class of 2022 that was going to take Penn State to soaring new heights. And you know what, John? They got really close. They won a lot of games. They did a lot of good things here. And that's certainly part of the legacy too. But we heard from Nick Singleton earlier this week, and he said, yeah, nothing about this year has gone how anybody thought it would.
Yeah, and that is us included. I don't think anyone anticipated this. We were all just wrong, right? But yeah, I think Drew seemed in good spirits. I think he is clearly upset about that. He called again that weekend one of the worst weekends of his life. Yeah. You can read more about that over at SenderDaily.com and presumably at InsideLines.substack.com as well. But yeah, let's get into this game. Drew will not be the only senior on senior day. There will be a bunch of others. This was a class, night. As you mentioned, senior night. This was a class that, as you mentioned, was supposed to do more than it did. Still accomplished a lot, but was still anticipated to do more than it did. Guys like Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, Zachy Wheatley, who was not part of the 2022 class, I know, but like he's still part of this graduating class or departing class, I should say. There are a lot of guys that will be leaving, and I will be curious to see how this game goes, because you would this is their last time in Beaver Stadium. I think this is a legitimate chance to give that glimpse of what this could have been, right? Give that look into this is how this could have all played out had everything gone more positively.
You know what? As you were reading the DraftKings ad, John, I was looking at my phone and I was looking at ticket prices for Saturday because I was just curious, what there are tickets available for $5. A lot of tickets available for $5 in Beaver Stadium.
It's a night game. It's going to be cold. I get it.
Night game. Traffic is horrible on night games. 7:00 kick. Again, you've got two backup quarterbacks, because Nebraska fans always travel insanely well too. So that's kind of the other thing. You will, I'm sure, see some sea of red in this stadium. But,
41 degrees at kick for what it's worth.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, parking, I see in the chat. Yeah, parking is always a disaster around here.
Parking's the real nightmare.
Yeah, and good luck trying to get out afterward. But, I mean, again, the fact that this is a night game, I don't think helps Penn State in this regard with getting people here. It's also the start of Thanksgiving break for students. So a lot of people are getting out of here even today because Penn State students have all of next week off. So I think it's going to be a weird setup because you get this night game with what could be a pretty sparse crowd. And it's hey, it's senior day. I hope for the sake of this team that's been through a lot that more people will show up and that there is a nice atmosphere there. But I don't know. And to your point about this is what it all could have been. I felt like we got that against Indiana. And it was okay, maybe this is what had things gone better this year, this could have been it. Yeah, I don't know, but I will say, John, I'll get us started with the picks.
I have a special prediction too at the end that I want us to make after this.
Okay.
As a nice gift to everyone who has hung around this long.
Oh boy. I've got Penn State winning 27-23 because, John, in a season where nothing has really made sense for Penn State, the only logical conclusion is that we get roped into covering a bowl game. I just think is going to be the most they suck you back in because it's like, oh, hey, guys, there's another game. By the way, the way the bowls are structured and with the Big Ten, like Penn State can't just be like, we're not going. Like there's not now. Like they're just so we're clear, because that's come up a lot of like, can they just opt out? No. Now, what happens to players once they say they're going to enter the portal with Terry Smith as an interim head coach? Maybe that's a question for us next week that we're going to have to address potentially.
Or when the staff isn't here. They don't have a
I mean, again, like you're going to be operating at a bit of a bare bones operation here for a little bit.
If they have an interim head coach, even.
Yeah, the thing to watch Saturday night is Katron Allen on the rushing record. I believe 139 yards are what separate him from Evan Royster, which the way things were looking for a while with the heavy timeshare earlier on this year, I wasn't so sure we would see that happen. So that's certainly something. And you know, Terry Smith talked about it this week, and he said, since he's taken over, Katron's been the featured back, and that's been pretty apparent, and he's looked really good. So I think that's the player we'll be talking about.
Do you think he gets it?
Oh gosh, Sunday, because it's gonna be a late game. Do I think he gets it? I will say yes. Otherwise, God, it's going to be a weird scene if he gets it in Piscataway.
Well, I think so. That's why I asked. I think that's when he gets it. I think he gets it in Piscataway, and it's just going to be awkward.
Just kind of really fits with this whole year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have Penn State winning this game 23-21. I was stunned at the spread. I think it's like 10.5. Penn State's a 10.5 point favorite last I checked. Pretty surprising to me. I know both teams have backup quarterbacks. Penn State has underperformed a lot, but they really have kept a lot of these games close. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it's, it goes in the other direction. It's a one-score game. I have the player we're talking about is Zachy Wheatley, who has like kind of that senior day moment where he has a pick six. I went, of course, very specific to him getting a pick six. So that is game-winning pick six for the last score of the game, that he takes 73 yards for a touchdown to end his Penn State career and get Penn State the win. And I'm seeing here in the chat, by the way, it spreads down to 8.5. That actually doesn't surprise me all that much. I thought it would move in that direction.
At what point, John, on the drive back last night, were you like, yes, 73 yards, that's the number?
Not on the drive back. I actually had 76 yards at first. I was like, that feels too on the nose as a Sixers fan, so I switched it to 73.
Here they come.
Someone asked here, gonna get to any questions anyone has in the chat. Feel free to leave those here as we wind down, and then I will make Audrey and I make a prediction on who the next head coach will be. But the question here: how might a bowl game affect the head coaching search, if at all? I don't think it will. I think that it is going to have zero impact on pretty much anything. I think if anything, they have a coach in place at that point, and they're like maybe. That's kind of they're trotting them out there, right? It's
kind of like like what James Franklin's doing at Virginia Tech now. Where like you're looking at the roster, you're meeting with players, you're observing, you'd have a chance to watch these guys in practice, which I think in that regard you might be able to make a case that this would be beneficial, like to have a bowl game because you'd get more eyes. But again, we're looking at a pretty big roster turnover, reset, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we could be seeing a bowl game with a lot of backups, which would not be really appealing if you're a bowl rep, but also it's Penn State. It's a big fan base. It's TV money. So I think it's, hey, everybody, you got to suck it up and do that because this is what the conference wants.
And someone asked if Penn State doesn't have enough enough players because of the portal. Are they still playing in a bowl game? Players can't go in the portal yet at that point, presumably. Assuming it wouldn't be a college football playoff semifinal, I should say. But Penn State would not be that.
So
they could say they're going in the portal. They can't actually go in yet.
Yeah, January 2nd. So, but yeah, I think that the thing that's going to get interesting is when players say, because I expect that we will see some tweets after the Rutgers game or like that following week of players saying, hey, I intend to enter the transfer portal. And what we don't know is if they decide to enter the transfer portal, are you done? Like, that's always been the thing here. When you announce that you plan to go in, your locker's cleaned out. But this is a different scenario.
Yeah. And
where you might need bodies.
Well, and I think too with that the players, like, they have contracts now. They can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just like leave at spur
unless
of the moment.
do you want to forfeit your last check? Like that's, that could be the other thing of, hey, I don't want to get hurt and so I'll forfeit my last check because I want to be healthy for the next place, right? Like that. This is all new and different.
Yeah. Someone said surprise pick Chip Kelly. Nope. Not worried about that. That being said, Chip Kelly was almost Penn State offensive coordinator last year, but Penn State wasn't going to pay that buyout that Ohio State did. Sorry, not last year before. 2 years ago? Yeah.
Before Andy,
2 years ago. Sorry. Before Andy. Yeah. It was a thing. It was on the radar.
There's a good, interesting what if.
Yeah. Oh, big time. As an Eagles fan, I'm glad I didn't have to live it out. Didn't have to ask him questions about his Eagles tenure at press conference.
Chip don't go.
I'm kidding. Yeah. To be clear, I would not do that. So we are here 50 minutes into the podcast. Audrey, this is, to be clear, this is not, we're saying this is going to happen. As of now, who do you think will be Penn State's next head coach? This is, again, a nice treat to everyone who's made it.
I think you're trying to set me up here because I know whatever I say is going to get clipped and spread throughout the internet. And then people are going to, oh, you idiot, you this and that. So in order for me to get dragged less on this,
I get called idiots all the time anyways. True, like, this is not new. It's fine.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, without knowing if Alabama's going to flame out, it really makes it tough, John.
Sure
That's the thing. So now you're
I'm asking you to predict that game next weekend too.
You're asking me to anger the people of Tuscaloosa and tell them that they're going to lose the Iron Bowl and then their head coach.
Yeah.
That's really what I need in my Thanksgiving week. So because I'm looking out for my own self-interest here, I'll go with Mr. Key. I'll say that we're going to have some keys to the search.
Oh.
And I'm going to have a lot of puns to play with. And no, you're not taking Jeff Halfley. Leave my defensive coordinator alone.
That is for our audio listeners that someone mentioned Jeff Halfley in the chat, just so you know. That's why she's bringing that up.
Sorry.
But no, I think there's a chance that I would. I want
you asked the question, John.
Yeah,
I was content being done
and
and moving on with my Thursday night.
I'm gonna agree with you on Key, but I do think that scenario with Bama going 10-2 and missing the playoff because of the Big 12 title game is worth monitoring. Like, I think that could be pretty frustrating for everyone at Alabama, and so I think that is one worth monitoring, even more so than maybe the Auburn game. We're getting so many bad puns in the chat.
Key lime pie for Thanksgiving. I love it.
Can
I give him the keys to the car?
I did this to myself.
Keys to victory. Imagine every week, John, instead of my thoughts, keys to victory.
Keys and predictions. Isn't that what you do anyways?
Yeah, that's true.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you know what? I see, again, another mention of the Halfley thing at BC. And it was actually Kraft had given him the extension, I believe.
Yes.
Somebody else had hired him. Because early on in the search, I was a little worried about that. I was a little concerned that they were going to come after my Packers defensive coordinator. So, John, you're not dancing around this question here that you created.
I said Key.
Is that your final answer?
Well, that's my final answer on Thursday, November 20th at 6:53 p.m. I said Key. Someone did ask in the chat, who do Penn State fans want to win the Big 12? Assuming you want Kalen DeBoer. What you want is both BYU and Texas Tech to win out in the regular season, play in the Big 12 title game, and then BYU to beat Texas Tech. Because Texas Tech is like a top. I think they're like sixth. I'm gonna be honest. I don't have to watch college football playoff rankings anymore. It's not of my concern right now.
Way out of my mind.
And to be clear, like, I still check them. I just don't have to memorize it as closely. But yeah, that is what you would want if you want that scenario to be possible. Likely, I don't know, but I think it's possible. We'll see how much the Bama brand can carry them at that point, and if they would get in over Texas Tech, which would be a very fun conversation that I'm sure everyone would handle so rationally on Selection Sunday if that were the case.
You know what? It's going to be Selection Sunday for
Someone
us.
Said fifth. Thank you, the person that said Texas Tech is currently fifth, which is even better for Penn State fans. You want them to be as high as possible in the rankings, so if they lose, they would then stay in that range ahead of Bama.
Yeah, John, we will be back.
Sunday
morning.
I almost said a word we can't say on the pod. We shouldn't say on the podcast.
Was it the A word? Was it alignment again?
It was a different one. It was a much different word. But yeah, I think we'll be back around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Sunday morning.
7 o'clock kick. Gosh, you know what? This will also be the most cruel way for this game to go. Penn State fans, cover your ears. The most cruel thing would be if Penn State goes to overtime in this night game and then loses on senior night. Like, that's just mean. Like
That's
they
not
don't
cool.
need that. They deserve
That's not
better.
just cruel to fans. That's cruel to us.
Exactly.
We're going to be there even longer.
But that would get us out of the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. Penn State fans, I will say, enjoy the senior day. You only get so many football seasons.
Senior night.
Also a very fun thing. Yes.
One last tailgate in the lots. Yeah, I mean, it's
September.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how, despite half of the season being a coaching search, how quickly this season has gone.
Yeah, no, and it
really is.
It is weird covering a coaching search that is this prolonged too, though, right? That feels like it drags it out even longer. It feels like I've watched Penn State play 37 games this year. They've played 10. So I will keep that in mind as we watch Nebraska probably like 3 a.m. and overtime number 47. That being said, we will be back around 1 or 2 a.m. Sunday morning. We'll be going live. We'll definitely touch on the coaching search again. You can bank on every episode from here on out. We're going to be focusing quite a bit on the coaching search. It's just the nature of the beast. We're neither of us have like we're not actively posting on message boards and everything with like updates and everything. So this is our general avenue to tell you guys what we're hearing. Right. And anytime we write about it too, you can read everything Audrey writes about the coaching search at insidethelines.substack.com. I will have another coaching board on Monday, but that will be after the pod on Sunday morning. That'll be at centerdaily.com. Audrey, yes?
I've got another thing.
You're raising your hand like a student?
Because I see someone in the chat mention the Virginia Tech Stadium entrance is electric. Yeah. John, I want to throw a question at you because you threw one at me. What were your thoughts on Enter Sandman, or James Franklin, I'm pretty sure, called it Enter the Sandman?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that entrance? Because I think it's awesome.
I think it's fantastic. I also think the funniest thing that happened in that press conference yesterday was athletic director Whit Babcock calling him Brent twice.
We'd like to introduce head coach James Franklin.
Yeah, not what you want out of your AD. We'll see how long that relationship lasts. But until Saturday or Sunday, whatever you want to call it, you can read everything Audrey writes at insidethelines.substack.com. You can find her on Twitter at AudSnyder4. You can find her on Blue Sky at audreysnyder.bsky.social. You can find me on Blue Sky at johnsauber.bsky.social. You can find me on Twitter at John Sauber, and all of my writing at centerdaily.com for the Center Daily Times. Don't forget to leave the 5-star ratings reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening after the fact, as I take the deepest breath before I say that, then
deep breaths, just like the coaching search. Relax.
Yes, and everyone wants this to be done. It will get done in due time. It could go 9 days. It could go 19 days. It could go probably 24-ish days, maybe. Trying to think. Math is hard. I know that does not sound appealing for anybody at this point, though.
Great.
Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button down below if you are watching on YouTube. We appreciate all of you, even the person who said that I am essentially cosplaying like I know college football. Which
that was my burger, John. That was my burger.
I know. And listen, if I'm doing it that well, if I'm faking it that well, then clearly something's going right if I'm doing this. So
just remember,
clearly
the key is using deep breaths, as they say in the chat. Perfect. I've set up all the puns now.
Yes. Thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone who's asked questions. If you're watching live Sunday morning at 1 or 2 a.m., leave your questions in the chat. We will get to them, especially at that hour, because we appreciate everyone so much. One final question. Any chance with sleeper head coach candidate Marcus Freeman or Dabo Swinney? They're going to keep chasing Marcus Freeman. I doubt it happens. Dabo Swinney is probably not, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe there's been any contact. We will end it there. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all Sunday. And until then, have a great day.